Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 8th February 2022. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant from our UPSC point of view. So now let us have a small brief introduction regarding those topics. So first topic, it is about 12th Ministerial Conference of WTO. And here in this article we are going to talk about what is this digital trade, okay, and what are the opportunities that we have, and we are going to see what are the challenges before India. So this article is important from economy point of view, which mainly comes in the GS paper 3. And next topic, it is about majoritarianism is wearing the veil of debate. Actually this article, which is mainly talking about this hijab. Already in yesterday's lecture we discussed about this hijab, and now also we are going to see this topic. So this topic, it is important from our polity point of view, which mainly comes in a GS paper 2. And next topic, it is about self-reliant pharma industry. So actually this topic, it is talking about this production linked incentive scheme regarding this pharma sector. So we are going to talk about this APIs, active pharmaceutical principle or active pharmaceutical ingredient. So this is a one important medicament, okay. So here actually we are not going for producing of this active pharmaceutical ingredient, but we are going for importing of this APIs from China. So this is an issue which mainly discussed in this topic. So this topic, it is important regarding governance because we are talking about this production linked incentive scheme. And next topic, it is regarding India's support during economic crisis helped Sri Lanka gave ties new energy. So this article is talking about India-Sri Lanka relations, which is important from our international relations. Okay, so because of this foreign minister of Sri Lanka visit to India, he gave some statements. So we are going to see that statements. The next topic, it is regarding operation to curb trafficking launched. So railways mainly launched one operation to curb this human trafficking. Okay, so we are going to discuss some important details, some constitutional provisions regarding this human trafficking as well. So this is important from our society. And next topic, it is about Iran's nuclear deal. So Iran's nuclear deal to resume in Vienna. So because of this is in news, and this is important from your international relations. And next topic, it is about PM Cares. So already we discussed about this PM Cares number of times, and now it is a time to revise those topics. So this topic is important from schemes, programs and policies of government, which mainly comes in the GS paper 2. So these are 7 topics. Now we are going to have our discussion, and now let us try to see our quote. So our quote, it is regarding artificial intelligence. Okay, so our quote, it is regarding artificial intelligence. So quote mainly says that computers will overtake humans with artificial intelligence within next 100 years. So within next 100 years, here computers, they will overtake humans. So when that happens, that means, so within 100 years, computers will be overtaken, computers will be overtaken, overtaken these humans, right? So whenever humans are overtaken by computers within 100 years, when this happens, we need to make sure that computers have goals aligned with ours. So what are the goals we are having? Along with that, our goals, so computers also need to be aligned with our goals. Okay, so this is the statement which is given by the Stephen Hawking. Okay, so this is regarding artificial intelligence. So now let us try to see first topic. It is regarding 12th ministerial meeting or 12th ministerial conference of WTO, World Trade Organization. So title says that notes for India as the digital trade juggernaut rolls on. So this article, which is mainly focusing on this digital trade. So now we are going to understand this article in a very great detail. So this article, it is important from our economy, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. So first of all, now let us try to see the central theme of this article. So sitting out trade negotiations could result in the country losing out on opportunities to shape the rules. Okay, so whenever we are not coming up with this trade negotiations, okay, and we need to come up with some upgradations regarding this digital trade. So whenever you are not coming with upgradations regarding this digital trade, then that will lead to losing of opportunities for India regarding the rules, okay, which shape the rules. So this article, it is very important because in the recent times we are mainly focusing on this digital trade. So digital trade is very important because of this. According to the times, according to the needs, we need to go for reforms. So that is the thing, this article which is mainly highlighting about. So actually, why this is in news? Because of cancellation of this 12th ministerial conference. Okay, so due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so this 12th ministerial conference, which mainly scheduled on 30th November 2021 to 3rd December 2021, which mainly cancelled due to this COVID-19 pandemic. So because of this, the digital trade negotiations, okay, they are mainly going forward now. So because of this cancellation, and despite of this cancellation of this 12th ministerial conference of WTO, so digital trade negotiations, they continue to moving forward. So on December 14th, Australia, Japan and Singapore. Australia, Japan, Singapore on December 14th, and they mainly come up with a joint statement initiative, okay, JSI, regarding e-commerce. Okay, so these countries, they mainly came up with this joint statement initiative on e-commerce. So it is one of the welcome step, and it is also welcome for the substantial progress. And they also came up with talks over the past 3 years, and they came up with this joint statement initiative in 2020 on December 14th. So if you're talking about some facts regarding what is this WTO, already you might be having some knowledge regarding this WTO. It is nothing but World Trade Organization. So it is one of the international organization. So this international organization, which mainly deals with trade, okay, rules of trade between the nations. Because if you see, this is the country 1 and country 2. So country 1 will be having some resources and country 2 will be having some resources. But if you're talking about countries which are present throughout the world, those resources which are present in those countries, they are not self-sufficient. So because of this, they will be depending upon other countries for their needs, right? So whenever imports and exports happening between the nations, so there is a need of organization which mainly deals with the rules of trade, right? So because of this, we came up with this WTO. So WTO is nothing but the Global International Organization. So this organization, which mainly deals with rules of trade between the nations. Okay, and if you're talking about this WTO, which mainly contains WTO agreements, okay, so it is having some agreements, and these agreements mainly negotiated, and as well as they mainly signed by the bulk of world trading nations, and they also came with those agreements will be ratified in their parliaments as well. And what is the important goal of WTO? So important goal of WTO, it is mainly to help producers, okay, producers of goods and as well as services. It want to help exporters and as well as importers to conduct their business. It is a free and fair trade between the countries. And if you're talking about this WTO, in this WTO, we will be having this ministerial conference, MC, right? So this ministerial conference, it is one of the highest decision making authority of this World Trade Organization. So which is the highest decision making authority? That is our ministerial conference. And this conference, which mainly attended by trade ministers and even other officials from the organizations of 164 members. And since 1996 onwards, we had 11 ministerial meetings. So 12th had been postponed, or we can say like cancelled. So these are some important things, and here in this WTO, you need to know about one important agreement, that is Marrakesh Agreement. So this Marrakesh Agreement, okay, under this Marrakesh Agreement, which mainly establishing this WTO Ministerial Conference. So here under this Marrakesh Agreement, this WTO's Ministerial Conference that need to meet at least once in every 2 years. Once in every 2 years. So it is according to this Marrakesh Agreement. So now let us try to talk about why it is in news. So already you know that there is increasing of this global digital economy, and there is increasing of importance for this global digital economy, that is mainly seen. So because of this increase in the need of this digital economy, so there is a one question which mainly arises here is whether India accommodate to this global digital economy or not, whether it will be helpful for economic and as well as geopolitical interest of India or not. So this is a question that mainly arises. So now Let us try to talk about what is this digital trade. What are these global rules on this digital trade? So already you know that we came up with this WTO, okay, WTO in year 1994, and later on we came with the second ministerial meet of this WTO in 1998. And in this 1998 second ministerial conference, so members they mainly agreed regarding the rules of e-commerce regulation. So in 1998 itself, here WTO mainly came up with some rules regarding this e-commerce regulation. And first of all, they came with a temporary moratorium, that is relaxation. So temporary moratorium was imposed on custom duties. Okay, so these custom duties are mainly imposed on the import of goods. So because of this custom duties which are mainly relaxed here, so especially regarding this electronic transmission of the goods and services, so this moratorium had been renewed continuously. Okay, but this moratorium which mainly opposed by India and as well as South Africa, these are developing countries, like, okay, so these are the countries which are mainly opposing this moratorium. So why? Because this moratorium will having some significant cost on the developing countries. So for developed countries there will be nothing much that is happening, but for the developing countries this moratorium will be having significant impact, right? So it will also leads to revenue, it will also leads to decreasing of revenue from this custom duties as well. So because of this moratorium which mainly opposed by these developing countries like India and as well as South Africa, and even the members they also agreed mainly to set up a work program on this e-commerce. Okay, they want to discuss about some issues like general council and as well as goods services. Even they want to talk about intellectual property rights and even development. So from the last 2 decades onwards, we are seeing there is a lack of progress regarding this issue. So if we are talking about some issues regarding this digital trade, so there are several issues where these developing countries and as well as developed countries they will not agree. So what are those issues? So first and the foremost issue, it is regarding free flow of data. Free flow of data. So what is this free flow of data across the borders means? So these developing countries are mainly coming up with this concept of this data localization. So what is this concept of data localization? For example, this is a country one. So in this country one, there is some amount of data which is mainly generated. Okay, for example, details of people who are going for ordering or importing, exports. So which are the things which are mainly imported, which are the things which are mainly exported. So this is the data, for example, which is generated within this country. For example, the imports are going to country 2. So the country 2 will be having the data. So here this country 1 will mainly ask that whatever the data which is generated within my country should be stored in my country. Okay. So why? What is the need for this data localization means? If this so and so data which is mainly stored in the country 2, that means that will be coming out of the purview or the laws of this country 1, and that will comes under the laws of the country 2. Whenever there is any violation is happening or whenever there is any misuse of data it is happening, so the law which is not applicable, that is the country's one law which is not applicable on this country 2 where the data it is stored. So because of this, now these developing countries are mainly asking for data localization. That means the data which is generated within that so and so territory, that should be stored in that territory itself. But this is not accepted by many developed countries. And even this JPC, that is Joint Parliamentary Committee on this data protection, even that also recommended for stringent localization measures for sensitive personal data and as well as for critical personal data and in India's data protection legislation. So even we are talking about this data protection law, it is mainly going to be passed, okay, soon. But in this data protection law also we mainly talked about this data localization. And we can also see there is some similar disagreement between these developed and as well as developed countries, developing and as well as developed countries regarding these domestic laws also. So these domestic laws which are mainly focusing on disclosure of source codes, and as well as developed countries they believe that so whenever they are going for this disclosure of the source code, that will be also hampers their innovation. Okay, and actually this disclosure of the source code is very much helpful for algorithmic transparency and as well as fairness as well. So these are also some important recommendations of this Joint Parliamentary Committee report in December 2021. So this is gist of this topic and I hope it is very much clear. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding hijab. Okay. So here this article which is mainly talking about right wing groups, left wing groups, but we are not going to talk about which political party said what, but we need to know about some important and basics which are important from your UPSC point of view. Actually this article will be important from your polity, which mainly comes in the GS paper 2. And now let's try to talk about this article in a very great detail. So what is the context? I think you might know about this context. About 6 students, they were banned from entering a college in Karnataka Udupi district. And what is the thing they did? They did is by wearing of a hijab, that is the scarf which is mainly covering their head, or cloth which is mainly covering their head. So because of this ban of these 6 students, now that mainly throws up legal questions regarding freedom of religion and whether the right to wear the hijab, it is a constitutionally protected or not. So first question is regarding freedom of religion, whether freedom of religion is present or not. And second one is wearing of this hijab, it is a constitutionally protected or not. Okay, so these are the 2 important questions which are mainly raising because of this context. So if we are talking about constitutional provisions in our Indian constitution, Article 21 subclass 1, Article 25 subclass 1, which mainly talks about freedom of concise, freedom of process, and as well as practice and propagate religion. So this is the article which is mainly talking about right to freedom, right to religious freedom. Okay, and this 25 subclass 1 article which also guarantees a negative liberty. Okay, so negative liberty means nothing but it is not absolute. Okay, we can see like there can be some reasonable restriction. Okay, reasonable restrictions that can be imposed by the state. Okay, so on which grounds there will be the restriction of this right? On the grounds of public order, on the grounds of decency, morality, health, and other state interest. So here state can also go for restricting this article. So if you're talking about what is the Supreme Court's view on this religious freedom, whether this religious freedom it is absolute or not. So to answer this question, Supreme Court came up with a practical test. Okay, practical test which is mainly used to determine religious practice can be constitutionally protected and what can be ignored. So in religious practice also we will be having different customs, different things. So whether they are constitutionally protected or not, or if they are ignored. So how the Supreme Court says? Supreme Court mainly came with this practical test mainly to determine whether so and so it mainly comes from this religious practices constitutionally, or we can go for ignoring of that. So these are the some important things. So in the famous case for the first time, that is Shirur Muth case in 1954. So here Supreme Court came with the doctrine of essentiality. So already we know that religion will includes mainly the rituals, practices. They are integral to our religion. So what is the meaning of this integral? Okay, so which is essential and which is a non-essential. So we can go and we can check with this doctrine of essentiality. So this essential religious practice test, it is a contentious doctrine. Okay, so this doctrine which made evolved by the court to protect only such religious practices which are essential and integral to the religion. Okay, so under this the essential religious practice test, it is a contentious doctrine. Okay, and this doctrine which mainly evolved by the court, and it is mainly focusing to protect only such religious practices, and these religious practices which are essential and which are integral to the religion. So this is about this essential religious practice test. So here where did the Supreme Court which mainly used or applied this essential religious practice test? So first important case here is Supreme Court mainly used in 2004, and the case famously called as Ananda Marga sect. So under this Ananda Marga sect case, Supreme Court in 2004 for the first time it used this essential religious practice test, and under this Supreme Court mainly held that no fundamental right to perform this Tandwa dance in public streets. Okay, because it will not come under the essential religious practice. So it is not an essential religious practice. So Supreme Court held that Ananda Marga sect has no fundamental right. And next one is 2016. In 2016, Supreme Court upheld discharge of Muslim airman from the Indian Air Force for keeping a beard. Okay, so in 2016, Supreme Court upheld the discharge of Muslim airman from Indian Air Force for keeping a beard. The court, which mainly held that keeping a beard was not an essential part of Islamic practices. So when we want to go for keeping of beard, it is not an essential in this Islamic practice. We can also go for removing of that beard. And next one is, so what is the court ruling on hijab? So first case in 2016, you need to remember the Supreme Court judgments and the names of these cases. The first one is Amna bint Bashir versus CBSE, Central Board for Secondary Education. So under this, Kerala High Court held that the practice of wearing a hijab, which constitutes an essential religious practice, but it did not squash the dress code prescribed by the CBSE. Okay, so rather than providing some additional safeguards, we need to go for examining of students who are wearing this full sleeves when needed. Okay, so this is a thing which mainly said by the Supreme Court. And second one in 2018, that is the Fatima Tanseem, okay, Fatima Tasneem versus State of Kerala. So in this case also, Kerala High Court, which mainly said that collective rights of an institution would be given primacy over individual rights. So when you are comparing with the individual rights for whole community, so the collective rights will be given on primacy, that is importance will be given for this community rights than compared to that of individual rights. So in this case, two girls who mainly involved in this want to wear this headscarf for hijab. The school refused to allow this headscarf. So however, the court dismissed the appeal as the students were no more in the roles of respondent. Okay, so this is about this topic and I hope it is very much clear. Now let us try to see next topic. Title says a self-reliant pharma industry. So actually this article which is talking about production linked incentive scheme. So what is the basis of this production linked incentive scheme? So government says that when you are increasing your production, you will be getting some benefits from government. So it is regarding the production. So the scheme which says that it is production linked incentive. That means if you are increasing your production, you will be getting some incentives from government side. So how government will be benefited? So whenever there is increasing of production, means it will be going for increasing of producing the goods and services, so that they can be exported to other countries. We can increase our exports and we can make our India self-reliant India. So it is the idea. So this article which is talking about this scheme which is linked to this pharma industry. So already you know that in this pharma industry, India is excelling. India is doing far better than compared to that of any other sectors in India. And we are also exporting the different medicines to different countries. And even in this COVID-19 pandemic time, so India exported hydrochloroquine and as well as other important medicine that were helpful for treating of this COVID-19 to many other countries. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So why this PLI scheme, it is in news. So you know that this pharmaceutical industry, it is one of this key sector of our Atmanirbhar Bharat program. So under this Atmanirbhar Bharat program, so this production linked incentive scheme, it is very a key sector. And if you are talking about important objective of this phase 1 of this production linked incentive scheme here is to reduce imports, okay, to reduce imports, and we need to increase our exports. But if you see in this pharmaceutical sectors, we are mainly importing this active pharmaceutical ingredient or active pharmaceutical product. So this API, so without this API we can't go for production of any medicine because it's a key ingredient. So to explain about this active pharmaceutical ingredient, I will be giving you a small example. So you might have used this Dolo tablet or like Calpol tablet. So in this Calpol and Dolo, the active ingredient will be paracetamol. So this paracetamol, it is helpful for mainly painkiller and as well as to reduce the body temperature. It is antipyretic and as well as analgesic tablet. So without this paracetamol, can we prepare this Dolo tablet? No, right? So this is the importance of this active pharmaceutical ingredient. But this active pharmaceutical ingredient that we are not producing in India, but we are getting this active pharmaceutical ingredient from China. So we are importing this active pharmaceutical ingredient, that is API, from China to India, right? So here Here we are facing three important problems in this pharmaceutical sector. First one is import dependence. So we are mainly depending upon the imports of this API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and even drug intermediates, and also key starting materials. So these three things which we are mainly dependent upon the imports, especially from this China. But this scheme, which was mainly expected to attract lot of interest, as countries they had begun on adopt measures to reduce their dependence on China for this APIs. So for this active pharmaceutical ingredients, so this scheme, that is PLI scheme, which mainly says that to decrease the import. But however, whatever the response that is seen in this scheme, it is a very low and it does not meet the expectations. So if we are talking about data, total there are about 239 applicants. They were received in the 2 rounds from the industry, but we are having about 3000 firms. Out of this 3000 firms, we got just 239 applications. So out of this 239, 61 were selected, and out of the 61, 10 mainly withdrawn, 11 withdrawn. Okay, out of that now we are having 50 as of now, as of a date, that is December 9th, 2021. Okay, but the maximum number of beneficiaries that mentioned as per the guidance here is 136. Now it is like less than half. So if we're talking about what can be done, so how can we create confidence among the investors? So if we're talking about recent study which is mainly done regarding the performance of this PLI scheme, and that report mainly published. Okay, and this report mainly says that India needs a strategy. Okay, this mainly says that India needs a strategy, not just a scheme, but we need to realize the objective of reducing the import dependence. Okay, so first one is we need this type of schemes, and we can realize the objective of this scheme, and we need to go for reducing the imports. So there are 3 areas of cause of concern regarding this PLI scheme of this pharmaceutical sector. Okay, as I said, they are mainly regarding this API and as well as intermediate and as well as key starting materials. So if you're talking about APIs, okay, APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, that we are getting from China. So why Indian pharmaceutical companies are dependent on this APIs of this China? Because whenever we are going for a production of these APIs, the investments that mainly needed for this here is very high. So because of this, whenever we are going for domestically manufacturing of this API, the cost will be very much high. So here whenever we are going for importing from the China, then the price it is very much cheaper. So we will be having more profits for this pharmaceutical companies when they are going for importing of this APIs from China than compared to that of domestically production. So this is the one important thing. And even second important challenge here is there is no proper technology. We are not using much technology. So technology will play an important and crucial role in reducing the import dependence. But we are facing some constraints in overcoming this technology disadvantage. And next one is we need new manufacturing facilities, especially for production of this APIs within a very low price, but we do not have proper manufacturing facilities as well. Okay, so because of this, indigenous pharmaceutical companies, they are mainly having some glitches regarding production of these APIs. So because of this, we are going for importing of these APIs from this China. So if you're talking about pharmaceutical companies in India, so most of these pharmaceutical companies are MSMEs, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, right? And even large amount of private sector that is seen in this pharmaceutical industry. So these large private sector, they are not interested in the formulations of these APIs, because APIs cannot be produced and cannot be sold in a branded form. So whenever they are going for selling in the branded forms, the company will be getting large amount of profits. But if there is no branding, means these companies are not going to get much profit. So because of this, so these firms are not interested for the production of these APIs. So in this context, what is the need? The need here is we need to include even the smaller firms in production of these APIs. We need to give some more incentives for production of these APIs. And even we need to include this public sector enterprises, that is PSCs, in the production of these active pharmaceutical ingredients, and as well as key starting materials and drug intermediates, etc. Then that will be helpful for improving of this indigenous pharmaceutical industry in India. Okay, so this is gist of this topic. And now let us try to see next topic, Title says India support during economic crisis helped Sri Lanka gave ties new energy. So this article which is talking about India Sri Lanka relations. So here if you see the location, here we have this Sri Lanka, right? So here we have one line which is mainly separating this India and Sri Lanka. So let me know which is the line which is separating India and Sri Lanka. So this will be very important. And this article which is important from your international relations, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. Why this India Sri Lanka is in news? Because of Sri Lankan foreign minister visit to India. So because of this, now India Sri Lanka relations is in news. So if you're talking about India Sri Lanka relations, actually we are having ups and downs in these relations. So there is increasing of Chinese presence that is seen in Sri Lanka, and even projects which are mainly which is handed over to China than compared to that of India. So these are the some issues, and even fisherman issue is also one important biggest challenge between India and Sri Lanka issues. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So context says that India support has made a world of difference. India support has made a world of difference to Sri Lanka's economic situation. For Sri Lanka's economic situation, India support which made a world of difference. So this is a statement which is given by Sri Lankan foreign minister. So if we're talking about some important things which are highlighted in this article, the Sri Lankan foreign minister said that the relationship between India and Sri Lanka, it is good now, but there is unresolved conflict regarding this fishermen issue that is seen between India and Sri Lanka. So it is one of the biggest challenge in the bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka. And recently one clash which happened between India and Sri Lankan fishermen. So because of these clashes, that led to the death of 2 Sri Lankan fishermen. So it is one of the flashpoint, or we can say like one of the important challenge that we are facing between India and Sri Lanka relations. So in this context, he mainly said that we can resolve this issue by talks. And here this foreign minister of Sri Lanka, he mainly focused on series of recent announcements like $1 billion of a various line of credit, and even currency swap agreements of $400 million. So these are the some important things which are mainly given from Indian side to Sri Lanka. And even India and Sri Lanka, they also concluded a long pending agreement to jointly develop oil tank facilities in the Straco Malay. Okay, and not only that, even Sri Lanka invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to attend this BIMSTEC summit in Colombo as well. So these are the some important signs of positive things that we can see in the bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka. So please open the map and try to see the geographical location as well. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Operation to Curb Trafficking launched. So this article which is talking about human trafficking. So in our Indian Constitution, Article 23, which is mainly talking about this prohibition of this human trafficking, right? So this article which is talking about Operation ART, okay, AAHT, ART. So now let us try to see this topic, and this topic is important from our society point of view, because women, they become the part of society, and these are the issues against the women actually. So now let us try to see the context. If you see context, this mainly says that Railway Protection Force, okay, Railway Protection Force has launched a nationwide operation to curb human trafficking. So I want to give you one example here. One thing I read recently in one magazine, that so in one container, okay, in one container there will be like 11 to 12 women. They are mainly kept in that container, and they will be offering with the food, and if they want to eat the food, and if they want to poop, and as well as if they want to pee, they have to do in that container. So those 11 to 12 women, they are virgin women, and they will be taken and they will be trafficked, and after once the trafficked to one man, and they will be again brought them, and again their genitals will be stitched such that they will showcase that so and so person is a virgin, and they will be getting the same amount of the money. So here we can see this type of sex rackets are mainly prevalent not only in India but throughout the world. So we want to find the man behind that, okay. And human trafficking, it is like a violation of the rights of women, right? So because of this, it should not be continued, and it should not be encouraged. Actually, the government and as well as police force, they need to take some efficient steps such that they can curb this type of women trafficking especially. So this is the one article that I read recently, and I want to share with you, such that you can, if you are going to be the future bureaucrats, right, so you will be going to take some necessary steps if you can do that help for controlling of the sex rackets, okay, where you are posted. So this is a one small request from my side. So after you selected like IPS, IAS, or any other bureaucrats, then if you can do any help to the society, so please try to do the help for the society. Okay, so ultimate goal of you to enter into this bureaucrats, to become future bureaucrats, it is for social welfare, right, social service. So you have to do that at any cost, right? So if you come back and if you see this article, if you see the context, it mainly says that the Railway Protection Force mainly launched this nationwide operation to curb this human trafficking. It is one of the important step, and actually there are many movies which mainly shows that women and as well as humans are trafficked through these railway routes. So even one movie, that is famous movie, that is Gajini, I think you might have saw that movie. So that movie, it is also regarding this women trafficking, right? So here this is one of the important medium that mainly used by these sex racketeers, mainly for the trafficking of humans and as well as especially women. So because of this, here Railway Protection Force mainly came up with this operation, that is Operation Art. It is having, under this operation, they are coming up with some special teams. Some special teams will be deployed on all long distance trains or routes, and they will be focusing on rescuing the victims, especially women and as well as children, from these traffickers. So if you're talking about details regarding this article, which mainly says that railways which operates about 21,000 trains across the country daily. So across the country daily, they are operating about 21,000 trains, and it is the most reliable mode of transportation. Okay, it is one of the most reliable mode of transportation of the traffickers, who often move their victims for the long distances. So mainly traffickers use these railways to mainly move victims, okay, from from one place to another place on long distance trains. And in this railways, thousands of Indians and as well as persons from the neighboring countries, they were trafficked every day to some destinations where they were forced to live like slaves. Okay, and they're also being trafficked for illegal adoptions and even for organ transplants as well. So this organ transplant racket is also increasing day by day, and there are many movies which are mainly talking about these organ transplants, and they're also working in circus and begging and even in entertainment industry as well. So if we're talking about some facts regarding this Operation Art, so in this part of this operation, so infrastructure intelligence network of force that could be utilized especially to collect the data and to collate and analyze the clues on victims, sources, route, destination, and popular trains which mainly used by the suspects, and identifying of carriers or agents and kingpins, etc. Okay, and that data will be shared with these law enforcing agencies such that they can go for curbing of this illegal trafficking of humans. So if we're talking about which are the legislations in India which mainly prohibits this human trafficking, so first one is Article 23 subclass 1 of Indian Constitution, which mainly prohibits trafficking in humans and the forced labor. So even though we are having number of acts which are present in India, so there is still this human trafficking which is happening. So let me know in your opinion, so what are the reasons behind this? Okay, so this Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956 also penalizes the traffickers for commercial sexual exploitation as well. And India also prohibits the bonded and as well as child labor and as well as forced labor. And if you're talking about bonded labor, will be prohibited through Bonded Labor System Abolition Act of 1976, and child labor or forced labor, that mainly prohibited through this Child Labor Prohibition Abolition Act and as well as Juvenile Justice Act. And even there are some sections in our IPC which is mainly focusing, that is like section 366A, section 372 of IPC, which mainly prohibits kidnapping and selling of minors into prostitution respectively. So even though we have Factories Act of 1948, which mainly guaranteed the protection of rights of workers. So these are some legislations which are present in India, and you have to know, and you can write these legislations whenever you are writing about this human trafficking. So now let us try to talk about next topic. It is regarding Iran nuclear deal. Iran nuclear deal talks to resume in Vienna. So this article is talking about, again, now this Iran nuclear deal talks will resume in Vienna on Thursday, diplomats mainly said. Okay, so now let us try to see this topic, and this topic it is important from international relations, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So if you are talking about context, it mainly says that Iran's nuclear deal talks will resume in Vienna. Okay, Iran's nuclear deal talks will resume in Vienna. So if you are talking about details, it mainly says that parties to the deal have been negotiating in Vienna since last year with indirect US participation. So actually, you know that in 2018, former US president, that is Donald Trump, who mainly came out of this Iran's nuclear deal, okay, unilaterally. So since then, US had not been participated in this Iran's nuclear deal, and other parties, they are going to deal with some negotiations in this Vienna since last year. Okay, there is also indirect US participation. US it is not directly participating, but indirectly US it is also participating in this talks, and talks were more recently halted at the end of last month, and now negotiators they returned to their capitals for their consultations, and now it is like 8th round of Vienna talks, and these talks were mainly attended by China, France, Germany, Russia and UK, Iran and US. So if we're talking about background regarding this Iran's nuclear deal, so this Iran's nuclear deal is also called as a Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that is JCPOA. So it is one of the landmark accord or agreement which is mainly between Iran and as well as powerful P5 countries plus Germany, and they came up in year 2015. So under this JCPOA, the important terms here is Iran agreed to dismantle much of its nuclear program, and it will be open some facilities to more extensive international inspections. Okay, it is mainly going to cut down this nuclear program, and it will be also allowing for the international inspections, okay, in exchange of billions of dollars worth of sanction relief. So it will be getting some sanction relief. So in return here, Iran mainly going to come down with this nuclear power programs, and as well as it will be allow for this extensive international inspections as well. And next one is, so this JCPOA went into effect in January 2016, and even this JCPOA also imposes restrictions on Iran's civil nuclear enrichment program as well. Okay, and the negotiations with this Iran, which mainly carried out by P5 countries, that is permanent 5 countries of this United Nations Security Council, for example China, France, Russia, UK and US, right, and even European Union also took part. So if you're talking about what is expected from the Iran, okay, so Iran which is going to reduce its nuclear program, so there will be the nuclear restrictions, and Iran also stated to ensure that facilities at this Fordo, Natanz, Arak, they would only be used for the power generation and as well as some medical industrial research, but they are not going for preparation of this nuclear weapons. And they will be also agreed for implementing of a protocol that would allow mainly inspections from this IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency. And if you're talking about what are the agreements which mainly accepted by this P5+1, that is permanent 5 plus Germany. So first one here is sanction relief. So there will be the sanction relief that is mainly seen, right. So these parties also agreed to lift the sanctions on this weapons embargo, and even United Nations confirmed through this IAEA that Iran is only engaged in the civil nuclear activities. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And actually there is one article regarding this PM CARES. It mainly says that so and so amount which is mainly spent under this PM CARES program. So already we discussed about this PM CARES number of times, and I think in last year there are a number of editorials also appeared regarding this PM CARES. So please revise this topic, that is PM CARES. And now let us try to see answers for the yesterday's question. So first one, it is regarding directive principles of state policy. So consider the following provisions under this DPSP as enshrined in our constitution. Actually this DPSP it is present in the part 4 of our Indian constitution, and let me know which are the articles talks about this DPSP in comment box. So first one is to promote educational and as well as economic interest of STs and SCs. So it is like a Gandhian principle. And next one is to provide equal justice and free legal aid to poor. It is like a socialist. And next one is to protect monuments of national importance and to support the judiciary from executive in the public services in the state, and to ensure for all citizens a uniform civil code. That is Article 44 talking about this. So these last three C, D, E are liberal principles. So demand of question is you need to identify liberal intellectual principles, that is C, D, E. So correct option will be the option 3. And the next question, it is regarding Article 368. So it is talking about amendment of Constitution. So as per Indian Constitution, consider the following statements with regard to Article 368. So an amendment to the Constitution can be initiated only in the Parliament. Okay, only in the Parliament. Yes. And next one is the bill seeking amendment can be introduced by any member, that is either minister or any private member can be initiated. Yes, this statement is also absolutely correct. And this one is amendment can be initiated only in Lok Sabha, not in Rajya Sabha. But this amendment can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and there is no need of prior president assent as well, consent. So here this third statement is incorrect. So you can eliminate this third statement, and the correct answer will be 2, 1 and 2 only. And now let us try to see this today's questions. So before seeing today's questions, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear this UPSC, I will strongly suggest you to join prelims test series and as well as mains answer writing course that we are offering in this Rathod's IAS Academy. So in this prelims test series, there are about 30 tests, which includes both CSAT and as well as GS. So this will be helpful for analyzing how questions will be appeared, and this will be helpful to make you to practice the questions, and even you will be practicing your elimination techniques in this test series. And next one is it will be also helpful to analyze yourself in which areas you are weak, in which areas you are strong. And next one is mains answer writing course. So in this mains answer writing course, we are exclusively focusing on your answer writing skills. So answer writing skills are very much important to clear your UPSC, because this mains, it is one of the deciding factor whether you will make or break the deal. Because prelims, it is like just qualifying paper, and interview will not be there in your hands. So the thing which is there in your hands and you can excel here is here mains answer writing. Okay, in this mains answer writing, in this mains you will be getting like 3 hours of time. Out of this 3 hours you will be writing like 20 questions, 20 answer for this 20 questions. So you will be getting on average 7 to 7.5 minutes. So within the 7 to 7.5 minutes, you need to read the question at least twice, and you need to understand the demand of question, and finally you have to write the question. So now you can imagine how difficult it is. So if you are perfect in this static portion like GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, then you can easily complete your paper within these 3 hours of time. And here in this mains answer writing course, we are mainly coming up with a detailed micro listing of topics, and the syllabus will be divided into 1 year, and we will be giving you weekly targets. So based on that, daily one question will be given to you. So you are expected to write the answer, and you have to send your answer to our email ID, so that there will be evaluation also. And next one is we also provide you the model answer and one-to-one mentorship. So this will be very, very important for your clearing of UPSC. And next one is we also came up with this foundational course, entire foundational course for the GS of 2023. So this course, we are providing like more than 700 hours of video lectures, and here we are focusing on this conceptual clarity. And this conceptual clarity is very important to write answer, because now the recent trends of UPSC had been changed from asking of facts based questions towards analysis based questions. To answer those analysis based questions, you need to excel the concepts. Okay, that we are focusing, and each and every subject is covered here, and each and every subtopic is also covered here. And next one is if you want to take individual subjects like economy, history, geography, disaster management, environment and ecology, science and technology, so you can take that individual subjects also. So the details of this course are given in description box, and please visit our website and you can watch demo videos there, and you can watch 3 demo videos without paying a single penny. So after watching demo videos, then you can opt for the purchasing of these courses. And if you want to talk with me, and if you have any queries regarding these courses, you can call to this number 8074765513. So this is a WhatsApp number also. You can text me in WhatsApp. And even there is a Telegram channel of Rathod's IAS, and the link is given in the description box. So you can join this Telegram group for the PDF of today's news analysis. So every day we will be posting you the PDF. You can get the PDF in the Telegram channel. Okay. And now let us try to see the today's questions. The first one is regarding simple majority. So here you need to know about different types of majority: simple majority, effective majority, and you need to know about what is a special majority and types of special majority as well. So that majority concept is very important from your prelims point of view. So here the question is regarding simple majority. So please try to see the videos of Lakshmikant that I recorded, and after reading that and see Lakshmikant, you can easily answer this question. And next question is regarding parliamentary form of government. Okay, so here this is the one separate chapter, it is present in your Lakshmikant. You can read that chapter and try to address this question. So this is regarding the parliamentary government, and here you need to identify incorrect statements. So these are the two questions of the day. Try to give the answers in the comment box. So by this I'm concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy, and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos, and don't forget to enroll to these courses. And the last date for this enrolling of this mains answering course, it is going to be ended by February 10. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much.